How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FC, and welcome back to the Euro 2020 Fantasy live stream. This live stream is going to revolve around Gameweek 2, which is going to be the second fixtures of the group stages, where we're currently looking to use the Limitless chip. So throughout this stream, I'll be covering your guys' questions as well as looking at my own Limitless side and kind of finalizing it before that deadline in about 40 minutes time. So thought I would go live a little bit earlier than usual. Usually we do it about 30 minutes, but because of the whole Limitless draft, I wanted to kind of give an extra 10 minutes there so we can just build it, and then I can get your guys' feedback on what you think, and maybe you guys can also post, if you are using the Limitless chip, some options that you guys are also considering. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting game week. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. Thanks as always for joining. I know this is a bit of an awkward time on a Wednesday, kind of midday Wednesday deadline. We're not really used to that in FPL, so thank you for joining, and I do appreciate the support that you guys have been showing me on this new channel. In chat, I can just see everyone basically saying, how's it? We have Sparsh Raj saying, first mate, SH saying hello. So how's it, guys? Hopefully you guys are doing well. Covering some news here, apparently no Arnautovic. He's missing the next game due to being suspended by FIFA. So that's quite an interesting one there, but I think that was because of his kind of celebration after he scored against North Macedonia. A little bit of controversy there. Apparently it might have even been a little bit racist or something. So I mean, that ban was kind of expected, but so if you do have Arnautovic in your guys' teams or maybe in your drafts, then maybe consider taking him out, because I don't know if he's going to start. Joe saying, do you think Pavard will play? So I did watch the game last night between Germany and France and was a little bit worried when Pavard got taken out there. And I thought he would actually be a little bit concussed. So I don't know if he is injured or if he's not injured. It's a little bit of a tough spot to be in, because I don't think we're going to be getting any updates. But the nice thing, if you are on the Limitless, you're going to have someone on your bench that can always just come off for hopefully Pavard if he doesn't start. So that's just something that you have to consider, as Joe's saying there, potential concussion, which is exactly what I thought. But as far as I know, if the player doesn't come off immediately, they do enough kind of concussion tests on the field for us to kind of know. So I don't think it'll be as bad of a concussion, but I know what you guys are saying with maybe a potential for a rest there. Between Pavard and Hernandez, there's not much to it. I read something today about Lucas Digne potentially starting in that Hernandez position, so that could be something that we see in this game against Hungary. So really between those two, it's kind of a 50-50, and hopefully by that time, we don't even have to play Pavard because all our other defenders have wrapped up. So before on screen here, just a little bit of clarification. So as I mentioned, the team selection yesterday, with the fixture last night happening of Portugal and Germany and France and etc., I wanted to only do the team review in this live stream. So just a quick review of how the squad got on. So 73 points here with that Ronaldo captain that very luckily returned yesterday. If you guys did watch the game, he kind of scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. So super happy that he managed to match Lukaku. And then obviously we did have Christian Eriksen as our captain. I think it was the second match day or the first match day. Still going to leave him in the squad because what a trooper there. Happy that he managed to recover. But just a crazy turn of events. I mean, I switched on the Denmark game to watch my captain play, and the next thing he's on the floor getting CPR. So luckily he has recovered from that, and he seems to be in good health. It's just going to kind of depend when he comes back to football, hoping that it's going to be a speedy return. But that's kind of why we didn't go for the Lukaku captain. And luckily, though, Ronaldo managed to match him. So I'm really happy about that. And I think we just in top 50k. The one thing I will say, though, is if you guys did watch the last deadline stream, the 2 transfers that I did was I took out Kerr and Eriksen. I brought those 2 in, and I took out Gini Wijnaldum and Spinazzola. So you can kind of do the math there. It's quite a lot of points difference between those 2. So I think we could have been a lot higher if I just kept with the squad that I was kind of considering. So yes, now we will go on to kind of looking at what the Limitless draft would be in terms of transfers that we can make. Let me just kind of check here. Okay, make transfers here on match day 2. So this was the squad for match day 2. If you guys haven't seen it, if I had to make transfers, it would be Ronaldo out and Eriksen out, and then I would probably look at Mbappe and then whoever I can afford at 9 million. And that's what I kind of would do. And the one thing I'm worrying about the Limitless is that if I do go on it, I won't necessarily have a Ferran Torres or a Memphis Depay, and these players still have good fixtures. And the same with Berardi. I mean, he's expected to start. So, I mean, against Switzerland, all these kind of players could do well, but I guess that's kind of the risk we take on going with the Limitless, that we kind of just hope that it returns against our normal teams. But in terms of the Limitless, I'll be building it right now. The one thing I wanted to do quickly, though, was just to bring up those lineups that were announced. As you guys kind of know, the lineups do get announced a little bit earlier. So let me just bring the lineups up for those of you guys if you are interested. So the Russian lineup looks pretty normal. I think it's mostly what we kind of predicted. I know it's Zuba that a lot of people are kind of opting for him, because in terms of match day one, I mean, you could go for a Wales versus Turkey option. You could go maybe an Insigne or an Immobile against... who do they play? Switzerland. You could go for them, but I mean, maybe a Russian option versus Finland could be the standout. So that's why a couple of people are going for Zuba, but I think that I would rather go for a more stacked kind of forward department than going for the Russian striker, and that's just something that I kind of have in a preference. But there's other options that you can go for. Golovin, I mean, he could also be nice, but I just think this game will be maybe quite close, and that's why I'm not going to go for too many options. And let's get back to the actual team, because there you guys have kind of got the wrap up of what's kind of happening with that kind of lineup. FPL Racing, I got Fernandes, so that I didn't even check that if he started, but hopefully he did start, because I think he's probably the standout defender to own if you're going to be going for him. In terms of the Limitless, let me kind of build my latest draft that I was kind of going through. So Ronaldo out, Depay out. I'm going to keep Lukaku because I think he could do well. I keep Insigne because I still think he's great. And then take out this entire 4.5 defense. In kind of hindsight, it was mental to go with kind of 4.5 defenders, but some of them managed to do good. I mean, Hiradeki at 4 million was pretty good. Bachmann out, Holes out, and then Eriksen out. So now let's kind of go and build the team that we are looking for. So starting off in the defense, I'm going to go with Munier, and then Spinazzola, and then let me just find. So I'm going to go for Pavard, but Pavard could easily become Hernandez. Maybe we get some news before the deadline that he could be featuring. Costas, they're asking me about Spanish options. I think Jordi Alba is a defender that I'm going to be going for. I know that I did have Dumfries in my kind of draft yesterday, but I just don't know about him. I just think that Austria fixture, I looked at Austria going forward, and I mean, maybe with Arnautovic out, they could be a little bit less attacking or whatever, but I just don't know. I mean, we'll probably monitor, and maybe I'll take out Pavard and instead go for Dumfries, but I also wanted to kind of fit in here Zinchenko, because I think he has a really good fixture, and he also is out of position. So let's bring Zinchenko in here to kind of complete that defense. Going on to the forward department, relatively easy forward department picks. I'm going to be going for two Frenchmen, but the Frenchman that I'm going to be going for is going to be Mbappe and then Benzema. So can someone kind of tell me in chat here why he's doubtful? Because as far as I know, he wasn't injured last night against Germany. So I mean, he's listed doubtful on the fantasy website, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not. But maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, that he actually is injured. Between Benzema and Griezmann, there's not too much between it. I just think that Griezmann was playing quite deep. I know they are going to be playing Hungary now, and Hungary will probably park the bus a bit, so maybe Griezmann will get higher up the field. So maybe that could be something that I kind of do worth. But I just wanted to know about Benzema here, because in terms of that kind of out-and-out striker, he seems to be filling that void for France, and that's why he could be quite good. But as you said, Griezmann is on penalties, so that could be something that I kind of go for. Jason said he heard that you wanted to pick him, so he got a quick injury. Maybe that would kind of sum up my Euro Fantasy kind of competition, because last week, shame, captain poor Eriksen, and then ended up getting that injury or that medical emergency. So I think that in terms of Benzema, maybe we switch it to Griezmann, but I am pretty certain on having two French strikers, because I think out of these forwards, that's basically where you have to go. I mean, their midfielders are not shocking, but like they're not great. Pogba, Rabiot, Kante. I mean, maybe if Coman played in that wing position, but it seems like France are playing that two up front. JCCR, yes, I'm going to be playing Limitless. So what I'll be doing now is I'm going to be kind of making my team, and then I'm going to make changes according to it. So I will confirm it, and then we can make changes until the deadline hits. So that's the forward line that I'm going to be going for. Maybe can fit in a Harry Kane here if I think that he's going to be a good option. In terms of the midfield, we can now go into the midfield. And the player I'm going to be going for is Sterling. So I think that Sterling should start. I've got a weird feeling about that England lineup. I think there might be quite a lot of rotation. I'm hoping not. It's also a weird thing because Grealish trained separately. Sancho wasn't even in the squad last week. So is Grealish injured? Is Sancho injured? They've been training in their training videos on YouTube, so I really don't know. So it's kind of a shot in the dark on that English midfield, and that's why Harry Kane could be quite an attractive option, because if you have to look at that lineup, he's basically nailed to play. So if you want to go for a nailed English option, I think Harry Kane could be where it's at. Yarmolenko, 100%, excuse me there, going for a Ukraine attacker, because against North Macedonia, I think they should probably get a goal or two, hopefully. Why is everyone changing their whole team? So it's because if you're using a chip like the Limitless or the Wildcard, you can change your entire team. So you'll see I will be activating my Limitless and then kind of saving it, and that's going to allow me to have a completely new squad for one single game week. In terms of the rest of the midfield, we're going to be going for everyone's favorite Welshman. It's going to be Gareth Bale. Just because he plays on match day 1, I can put him in, I can take him out, that sort of thing. Someone saying Pavard is injured. We will address that now. I just wanted to kind of give you guys what my latest draft is currently set out, and then I'll make changes on this as we go along. So Bale, yes, I am going for Bale. So maybe you commented that a little bit too early, but I will be going for Gareth Bale. And then in terms of the midfield department, I really wanted to get another English player, but between Foden, Grealish, Sancho, Mount, I didn't really know out of those guys who's going to start. Mount's probably the safest option, but I think that maybe a Gini Wijnaldum could be who I look at, and that could be probably where, just to get a little bit of a Netherlands coverage there, because most people have Memphis Depay maybe. So maybe that allows me to have a little bit of coverage. But so far, this is the lineup. And then just the goalkeepers to confirm. The first one is going to be a pretty secure one. That's going to be Donnarumma. And then it's going to be Pickford. So I think that out of this kind of Limitless, this is the latest draft that I've made. Let me know what you guys think about it. I think it's pretty good. In terms of the dates, we will then rotate if we confirm it, just to make sure that our dates are kind of set out, so that we all kind of make sure that the subs and the captaincy is looking quite good. Thoughts on Zuba? So the thing about the forward department, maybe if you're on a wild card or you just want a free transfer, I'm fine with that. But if you're going to be using the Limitless, I just think that you have to go with either Mbappe, Griezmann, Lukaku, or Kane. That's just my personal opinion. I know this might be one of those things where I'm just thinking about those guys because they're more expensive, and because Zuba's cheaper, I'm not really looking at him. But I think that Russia game might be a close one, and I think it'll be closer than maybe a Hungary versus France. Dan Ward saying Hernandez for France. So it seems like Pavard and Hernandez are actually providing quite a bit of a headache here, because we have Hernandez who could be rotated for Lucas Digne, and then we have Pavard who could be injured. So it's like a tough one to go with here, but maybe we should just go with Hernandez and hope he starts. But the tough thing about that is that France play on the last week, or the last match day of the game week. So if you kind of sub off a guy that's got a clean sheet for Hernandez or Pavard and they don't play, that's going to be quite an annoyance. So I'm just kind of hoping that maybe my other defenders can give me some returns, and then I will always just bring in Pavard if maybe one of them doesn't, and then there's not too much risk there. Griezmann and Mbappe, or Griezmann and Benzema? So I personally would say that Mbappe is the player that you guys should own. Out of all the French players, Mbappe is my favorite. But then between Griezmann and Benzema, it's quite close for me. And that's why I think that I might be going for maybe Griezmann just because he's on penalties. But I think that Benzema has a better chance of getting a goal because of Griezmann's kind of new position, playing at that 10 slot. So it's a little bit of an interesting one there, but hopefully in between them there's not too much. Gini Wijnaldum or Sterling or Forsberg, please help. I probably would go with Sterling just because I think England should beat Scotland, and that's just my kind of thinking behind it. But Gini, he's just so integral to the Netherlands lineup that you could also go for him. And then also with Forsberg, wasn't too impressed with Sweden, to be honest. Like, I know they were playing Spain, but I just didn't really see much of that. I was like super wanting a Swedish player in my lineup. I can't afford this team, says SH. I can't afford this team either. I'm going to be using the Limitless. So that's why you guys can't afford this team. So please don't think that I've got some money hack here in Euro Fantasy or something. It's just because I'm going to be using the Limitless chip. Thorgan Hazard first, Denmark. I would go for him if he was a defender. I just think him playing at that wing-back position and him being a midfielder just doesn't seem appealing to me. So if he was kind of a defender, 100% I would be looking at him. But I mean, if you can manage to fit him in your midfield, then that's perfectly fine. How about Kane instead of Griezmann, says Jason. So that could also be an option. Like if you guys want to go for that, that is 100% fine. And that's the one thing about the Limitless, is that when you take away the money constraint, you have an infinite amount of solutions. So your guys' solution might be different to mine. We don't know what's going to be optimal at this stage. So if you really want Kane, if you're an England supporter, you want to watch England and support Kane, then that's perfectly fine. I just think that between Hungary and France and then Scotland, England, France will score more goals against Hungary than England will against Scotland, in my opinion. And that's why I think that I would rather go for the double up in the French attack. If France had a midfielder, this would make it a lot easier because then I would do that switch. But because there's no French midfielder that I think will start, or at least is attacking-wise attractive, I think that's why it makes it a little bit tougher. Gareth Bale captaincy option. So I'll tell you right now that if I do keep this draft and have Gareth Bale, which I probably will, he will be my captain for match day 1. And the only reason for that is that I want to go for like a risky captain on the first match day, because then you have kind of three match days to make it up. And that's the thing that you'll see, like in game week 1, you change your captain continuously to try get the most points, but then sometimes you just have to stick. So I think on the first week, or the first match day, there's not too much risk there. So that's why I would rather go for kind of a riskier captaincy option on the first day, and then we can go safe on the next couple of days. So yes, Gareth Bale will be my captain for today's fixtures if I do keep him in my squad. Linus saying, what chip did you use? So I'm going to be using the Limitless chip. So let me just say save. Well, I think I can activate it. Let me just activate it. So Limitless is active there, guys, and that's why we have the infinite budget there. So if you guys want to activate your Limitless with me, you can do that. Or if you completely think it's the wrong strategy to do, then you guys don't have to activate it, kind of. But I'm going to be activating it, and that's why I think that we can go next year and confirm the transfers. I just wanted to confirm that it was fine. And then we can go to the team selection. So I can go to the team selection here for you guys. So Gareth Bale will come on for, I think Sterling plays later. So let's sub him out. We have Zinchenko playing, Pavard out. And then we've got Genie playing. So Jordi Alba out. Sub out. And then I think this should be fine. We do have the double up with the Italy kind of attack here. I mean, defense there, but they do play on the first game week, so I can always just sub in Pickford if they don't keep a clean sheet. So let's confirm this. A team is saved. So this is how the current team is setting out. I can still make changes, obviously, until the deadline. So if there is something that really stands out that you guys don't agree with, we can address it right now. So Pavard, is Pavard injured? So as far as I know, there's no kind of injury, and I don't know if he's injured or not. If there is a confirmed source, you guys can always just post it in the chat and I'll take a look at it. But I just think that I would rather kind of just take a little bit of a punt on him and hope that he's not injured. But between him and Hernandez, there's nothing much between it. Why Bale? So Bale plays on the first match day, so it's a really low risk kind of thing. And in terms of the captaincy, it's going to be kind of super differential. Start Sterling. So I would start Sterling, but he plays on the 18th of June. So I can always just bring out one of my other options here for him. So please, this isn't like the starting 11 with no changes. I can make changes continuously throughout the match day. Vincent saying, why not Golovin or Forsberg? Didn't really like Sweden, and I don't know how open that Russia-Finland game is going to be, to be honest. But that's the thing. There's always going to be options here of like players that you guys think that you should go for. So if you kind of disagree with me on something, I would suggest just going with your gut. Italy also played today, yes, but I just think that I would rather take a punt on Bale than Insigne, because I would switch my captain from Insigne anyway unless he gets like 2 goals or a hat-trick, and I don't know if that's that realistic. Bench a French bloke for Sterling, says Magnus Anderson. I can do that, but I will just make subs anyway. On my UEFA page, he is doubtful. So is Pavard doubtful on your page or not? Callan's saying Dumfries. So Dumfries is the one player that I'm kind of looking at, because I really do want to have Dumfries in my lineup, especially because Austria now have lost Arnautovic. So he is an option that I am looking at, but out of my other defenders, I don't really know who I would look at. And maybe I'll take out Pavard for a Dumfries, but then who am I going to bring in terms of my other French option? I don't really know. Is there another French kind of a attacker or defender that I could look at? Maybe I go completely mental and take out Lukaku and bring in Benzema there. Pavard was knocked out, says Jake. So was he substituted? Because when I watched the game, I don't think he got subbed, but maybe I'm completely wrong here. So like he got injured and he was down, but then it doesn't look like he was subbed off. So that's the thing that was questionable for me, because usually if he is concussed, then they would have done the test on the field and subbed him out. But because he stayed on the field, I kind of assumed that he was fit. What about Croatian assets such as Modric or Perisic? So you could go for those guys. I mean, Croatia, they didn't play terribly against England, but I just think that game was kind of dead overall. So, I mean, in terms of those assets, you can go from in a midfield slot where it's quite hard to find players. I can understand why you would want a Perisic, but I just think that in terms of my midfield, I'm kind of happy with the options that I have. Golovin or Insigne, please. I trust going with Insigne rather. I think that Italy looked quite good. Courtois, get him. So I could get Courtois, but I think that, I don't know if I want to double up on that Belgium defense. I would rather have Meunier. I just don't know. Denmark, I mean, they've got a lot to play for here. They've got a lot riding on this kind of competition. Jason says, could have gotten a delayed concussion. That is true. He could have got a delayed concussion. But as I said, with Pavard, I'm kind of hoping that by the time I have to play him, my defense has already got points. But I can understand what you guys are saying there, that I maybe should just take out Pavard and bring in Dumfries, which is something that I can do. Pavard may be rested because they play Hungary. So it's a similar thing that I was saying yesterday with France, is that in that group, Hungary is the game that you rotate. So I can see Benzema, Griezmann, Mbappe, all of those players being rested. And if we kind of start overthinking like that, we could go for completely arbitrary French guys that we think could start. KDB, a lot of people are asking about KDB and Eden Hazard, so I will address that now. Sorry for not addressing it earlier. But it is rumored that they're going to be on the bench, which is understandable. I mean, Hazard only had about 30 minutes in game week 1. De Bruyne just returned back from training. So I think both those guys will be on the bench. And that's why I'm not going to take a risk on them, because although they can come off the bench and score, I think that the chance of that is less likely than maybe a guy that plays a full 90 minutes. How Limitless rule for bench, so you can just do it as normal. So you can make subs, captaincy changes as normal. The only thing that changes is that you now have an unlimited budget. Remove Pickford and bring Lloris. Okay, so that could be something that I do. So I could maybe take out Pavard and bring in Dumfries rather, and then I will sub Pickford for Lloris. That could be something that I do. So let's bring in Dumfries here, because I really liked him from a defensive kind of point of view, and I'll take out Pickford and I'll bring in Lloris. So that we can confirm those transfers. So does that make you guys a little bit happier? Because now we won't kind of have the talk about potential guys, Pavard being injured or something like that. So let me sub in Dumfries. I'll keep Mbappe up top because he loves to have a sprint up top, and then I'll put Dumfries in. So far it looks like 18, 19, 19. So yeah, so we do have fine dates kind of arrangements in our team selection. Why Zinchenko? So Zinchenko's playing against North Macedonia and he is playing out of position. So from a defensive point of view, has the clean sheets, but then he's also playing in midfield, so then he has an attacking point of view. Costa saying this is stressful, Dayvy. I don't know if you watched the deadline stream last week, which I know you were there, Costas. That was stressful when we were making transfers a couple of minutes before. But this seems pretty calm. I mean, we activated a chip, can make as many transfers as possible, and we can just enjoy the deadline for what it is. Captain Mario Fernandez, let's go. So Giroud, good luck on that, brother. Hopefully it kind of pays off for you. Against Finland, good chance of maybe getting a clean sheet. Website down. Let me just refresh to make sure. So as far as I know, when I've been making changes to my squad, I have seen that the fantasy website sometimes does lag a bit. So just make sure that your guys' transfers are locked in and everything. Will bench points be included with the Limitless? No, they won't. The bench points will still remain on the bench. Spar saying, why no one from Russia in Finland game? I'm on a Limitless. I want to go for some big hitters, and that's probably why. I just think it's more fun to go with other options. But if you guys do think Russia are going to win 7-0, then maybe a Zuba or someone like that could be a nice option for you guys. A Kane captain, that could also be an option, but I just currently am on Mbappe, Lukaku, and Griezmann. I don't know why. I just think that Kane, maybe it was that Croatia game where Kane didn't do much except for that miss in front of at the far post. But I just think that maybe the midfield department of England is going to be better than them. And I kind of really split my players here. You can see that I've doubled up on some of them in the attacking department, mainly just France. But then with the other teams, I've gone for one player from each side that I think could do well. Carrasco or Bale, if you have Lukaku, I would take a punt on Bale. Because I think he plays the first game week or the first match day. You can captain him, differential, and that should be fine in my opinion. Why no Kane? I prefer the Lukaku and I prefer the French assets. I can understand it because a lot of you guys are English. You want to support England. I would 100% bring him in then. If it's going to make the game more enjoyable, if you think Kane's going to bang, then put him in your side. That's I don't have any kind of questions about that to selection because it's so close between the French assets and going for like a Lukaku. Can you change formations mid match day? Yes, 100%. You can do basically anything as long as you have 3 defenders. I think it's 2 midfielders and 1 striker. Giroud saying I'm English but Kane no. So it's not that I don't think Kane will score. It's just that I think that the chance of France beating Hungary by more goals is better than what England will beat Scotland by. I just don't know. Kane will not score versus Scotland, trust me. So if I was a betting man, I would bet on Kane scoring, but I just think that there's a better chance for bigger returns from the other assets. Bale captain, Bale's going to be my captain. Differential, I think he could do well against Turkey. I don't think Turkey looked that great. And I think that you can always, it's like a low risk. You can always just sub him out if you want. Swap Sterling for Mbappe, says Lewis. But then Lewis, I can't post on Twitter about my changes for you guys. Because then I'm going to basically have no one to sub in for the majority of the game week. But no, I will do that for you if it makes you happy. I'll do that one for you, Lewis. So you can see that then our bench is completely 19th of June. So we can make nice subs here if we need it. Yarmolenko suspended. Is Yarmolenko? I don't think Yarmolenko suspended. The only player right now that I think is suspended is Arnautovic. They say Pavard might not play. So Charlie, that's why I took him out, because there was some speculation about him, and on the Limitless, it's not kind of worth doing. It's not worth taking a risk. I saw someone here saying, Dayvy, go for Malinovsky over Yarmolenko. Same team midfielders, but Malinovsky is on penalties and has a better scoring record. So that is quite interesting. That could be kind of a switch that I do go for. But I think I saw Yarmolenko and he was quite, he looked a little bit better. But a lot of people are saying that that the better player is the other guy, so Malinovsky. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. Arnautovic and the Polish guy, starting defender, suspended. So I think Arnautovic is... So yes, that Polish guy, because of the red card, will be suspended. So who are we talking about here? Ukraine. So this guy. So I think he got an assist last game week. So is Yarmolenko selected by more? So he's selected by double. So is Malinovsky better than Yarmolenko? Is it crazy that I prefer Yaremchuk over Lukaku and Kane? I don't think so. There are some other options that you guys can go for in terms of the forward department. So I mean, it's just kind of a preference. If you guys want to go with the Zuba from Russia, that's perfectly fine. But I just don't know. So someone's saying here that Yarmolenko's on penalties. So Max is saying Yarmolenko's on penalties, but some people are saying that this guy's on penalties. So we don't really know. Thoughts on Foden? If Foden was playing, I think that he would be in my lineup, but I just can't say who's going to start. Akash, so a similar situation. You're saying, will Sancho start over Sterling? The England lineup is a mystery. No one knows what it's going to be. Some people are saying that there's going to be a lot of changes. Some people say that there won't be changes. So I'm just kind of going for an English option that I think could do well, and I'm not trying to jeopardize my other options. What rank do you want to get at the end of the tournament? Vikram, so it's kind of weird. I'm trying to obviously finish as high as possible, but I'm also trying to have fun in this one. I don't know. I'm not taking it as seriously as some other people are maybe taking it. And that's why, I'm just having fun with it. I'm changing my captain as I please, and we're going to see how high we finish. Currently, top 50k we are in. So whatever rank we can finish, it's fine. Don't kind of correlate the FPL ranks like top 10k because there's less managers in this Euro competition. Benzema over Griezmann. I currently had Benzema in instead of Griezmann, but it seems like he might have picked up a little bit of a knock. Sean saying he's in the top 20k. Well done. Hopefully you can kind of boost on the ranks this week if you are using the Limitless or if you're using no chip at all. Ferran Torres versus Gini Wijnaldum. I just don't know. I just saw Spain and they're against a side that I think might park the bus. I think they were kind of very one-dimensional. They were kind of passing it around. I don't know how much attacking threat Torres offers there. I think Torres is better on the counter-attack. So that's why I think maybe Gini Wijnaldum in and around that box against Austria. Currently, I'm favoring him. But I'm kind of really split here on my players. How many subs can be done this game week? As many as you want. You can make as unlimited subs. That's the nice thing about Euro Fantasy. Get Kane for Griezmann and get another French defender. I don't know about the other French defenders because the centre backs, I'm not too fond of them. And in terms of Pavard and Hernandez, there's a lot of speculation about those other assets. Thoughts on Bruno Fernandes? So Bruno Fernandes is a weird one because it seems like in this Portugal lineup, he plays a different position to the United lineup. I don't know if that makes sense, but he's not as involved in the goals and assists as I would like him to be. And that's why, if you're going to be going for a Portuguese asset, it's probably going to be Ronaldo. If Sweden parked the bus, would you say Lindelof is a good option? If you're on a Limitless, I wouldn't go for maybe a Sweden defender, although I do have a Sweden defender in my fan team because I think they do still have a chance of a clean sheet. So if I'm on a Limitless, I wouldn't look at the Sweden assets, but if you're on like a wild card or a free transfer, then yes, they're fine. Dumfries to Castagne. So Castagne has a broken eye socket, I think. So I don't think he's going to be playing anytime soon. Hi, Dayvy. Zinchenko took the most recent Ukraine penalty. Okay, so Cameron's coming in there. We're arguing about Yarmolenko and who's on penalties, and now it's Zinchenko, but at least he's in my lineup. Wilson saying he's talked in Australia currently. Great rank there. Hopefully you can boost it up again. If all your players bang, will you still bring on the French asset, says Jason. It depends how much they bang. I think it has to be like 8 points minimum for me not to bring on my French assets because I think that France should do quite well against Hungary. I think you need a French defender. I have Hugo Lloris. So I know he's not a defender, but he's still a goalkeeper. Perisic or Bale, please answer. So that's a tough one. That's a real like 50-50 for me. But I currently am leaning towards Bale because differential captain and he plays on the first game week. So if he doesn't return, you can simply just get him out of there. FIFA saying, we're Sweden defensively shaky against Spain. I didn't watch the game. So they weren't terrible. They just were parking quite a lot against Spain. And I think they play Slovakia now. So that could be quite an open game for them. Or Slovakia could kind of park the bus on them. And then it'll be quite interesting to see how Sweden kind of react to that. But you can see they are. So they play Slovakia. I don't think Lukaku will go on his beast mode against Eriksen's team. So with Lukaku, it's kind of that if there's a player that has a good chance of scoring, it's going to be him. And that's what I kind of think that that's why I think it's worth going with the Lukaku. But between Lukaku, Kane, and those assets, it's a really kind of 50-50. Kane or Lukaku? So MDFM is asking that exact question. It's a really tough one to go by, and I honestly can't answer that. And that's the unfortunate thing about it, is that when you're on a Limitless, there's just so many options to go for. Amir K saying Kane or Benzema. So currently Benzema might have a knock, so just be careful about that one. So if you do consider that, probably Kane's better. Please answer Perisic or Gini Van Alden. It's like, that is so tough to answer, Tom, but I just think that if you're going to be going for attacker, maybe Perisic will be better, but I just think that Gini Wijnaldum I just have a feeling about Gini this week, and I think that Netherlands will do well against Austria. Golovin versus Gini Wijnaldum, please answer. I probably will still stick with Gini. Finland versus Russia. Who's the defender to get? I would go for a Russian defender, and then I would go with Fernandes probably. Why only one asset from England? I prefer my other attackers to Harry Kane, and I can't kind of predict who's going to start in the midfield. Why no Ukraine goalkeeper versus Macedonia? I think that the other assets might be a little bit stronger, and maybe North Macedonia can pull it out the bag and score a goal or something. No Pogba, he was brilliant last night. So Pogba was brilliant, but you don't get FPL or you don't get Euro points for a brilliant performance. So you get points for the attacking returns, and that's why I think that the other French assets have a better chance. Liverpool bias with that Van Alden pick, so he's not a Liverpool player anymore, so we can't claim that one. But I don't know, I just didn't have him in my last lineup, so I don't want to make the mistake of not having him again. Why are you captaining Bell over Insigne? Because it's differential. It's the first match day of the game week. I'm probably going to move the captain on anyway, so I might as well go differential in the first match day. Varane, good shout out for Florenzi. So yes, Florenzi is currently out with an injury, so Varane is perfectly fine for that because he's one of the more nailed French defenders. Forsberg over Bale, my last decision. I would still go with Bale. I don't know. Like I know there are Swedish people that are saying that their team has done fine, but I just personally prefer Bale. Gonna go with CR9, can never count him out. That's perfectly fine, but on a Limitless, I prefer going for a better fixture. Clyde saying, do you have a league? I don't have a league for Euro Fantasy, unfortunately. I didn't make one because I just thought that the overall ranks were probably where we're all going to be looking at. In FPL, it's a different story because it's kind of a whole season, and we can kind of look at that. But in terms of the quick succession of these Euro games, I don't think there's going to be too many winners in these mini leagues, and not many people are going to pay attention to them. Pickford versus Donnarumma. I trust the Italian defense more than the English defense. Late to the stream, but Fernandes for Russia not considered. I'm not going for a Russian defender. I've gone for kind of defenders that have a super good attacking outlet and maybe a good defensive outlet as well. So, I mean, you can go for Fernandes as well. I just preferred the other options. Clyde saying, where are you currently placed? Just below the top 50k. Are you not considering Sterling's performance was a once-off and he might slip back into last season's form? So, Tom, you can say that about basically any player, though. I mean, we were saying that about Sterling in the first match day. So it's kind of tough to say, but I'm going to take a punt. I wanted an English player. I think Sterling's got a good chance of starting maybe, so that's why he's come into my lineup. How do you feel about Switzerland? I thought Switzerland was solid, but then I watched their match day 1 game and they didn't look that good. So with Switzerland, it might be a little bit tough, but I mean, Italy have been really strong, so they could always keep a clean sheet. Gini Van Alden alternative. So Golovin, Perisic, Ferran Torres. You can go for someone like a Mason Mount, a Foden, Yarmolenko. There's another Ukraine midfielder if you want to fit them in. So there's a lot of options you can go for. So it's basically any player that you see that scored in game week 1. That could be quite good. 1 minute left to the deadline, so please, I'm just going to refresh here to make sure that everything's fine. But please get your teams in and finalize them because the deadline is in 1 minute's time. So I think this is going to be the lineup that we do go for. I'm going to be sticking with it and kind of hoping for the best. I'm using the Limitless chip, so please activate it. You probably won't be able to afford it if you don't. 3 Italian players and Bale captain. Weird, isn't it? It is weird, but on the form of game week 1, I think that Italy looks quite strong. and we can always kind of sub them out. Your thoughts on KDB? Going to be on the bench probably, so that's why I didn't consider him. Spinazzola as captain, up the differentials. Good luck, footy man. That's a nice little differential there. If you guys did captain Spinazzola last week, he also did return the points. So guys, that has been the deadline. As G-Rid is saying there, the deadline has come about. It is 3 p.m. my local South African time, so hopefully you guys did get your kind of lineups in, your captains in, your transfers in, your chips in, hopefully. And this is the team. So if you guys are joining late, this is the confirmed Limitless team that we did go for. Let me actually, maybe I'll leave it up here, because I'll kind of take a snipping tool of it and put it over on Twitter for those people that couldn't make the stream. But as I always say, thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for supporting. No, it was a bit of an awkward time here on a Wednesday afternoon, a night, morning, wherever you are around the world. And hopefully Game Week 2 is going to be quite a sensational one. And hopefully we can boost up those ranks even more on this Limitless chip. As I always say, I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.